So we've gotten a chance to reflect on what we've accomplished this year. We've taken the time to do that within this circle. We also talked a little bit about how on the things we want to accomplish this upcoming year. But I really want to chime in on the feeling and the emotions that we are receiving right now as the new year approaches. And I want to debrief on it. I want to unpack it together as a circle and really talk about what it is exactly that's making us, in a way, feel like there's so much, like there's this heavy pressure of feeling like, okay, God, I'm so thankful and I feel so blessed for all of the blessings that you've brought on to me this past year. But there's so much I want to do. There's so much more that I can do. And like the first thing that comes to my mind when I think about it is that like the reason why we feel this way naturally is because, as I would like us to call ourselves high achieving women, as high achieving women, we always want to do more. We always want to grow. There's so much more to be done. And when we are women of faith, and like I said, I don't resonate with, I don't like to chime in on one specific religion, but we are women of faith. We believe there is a higher power, there's God. Like, we have to mention God, right? There's no room that we're stepping in and we're not mentioning God. That is the circle that we have here. And when we mention God, we know that we come from a higher source. And with that higher source, there's always going to be that human-like tendency to want more, to do more. And today I want to talk about how what we're preparing for this new year is going to be what God wants us to do. The plan and the vision that God has for us is exactly what we're going to be working on this upcoming year. The reasons and the feelings that we feel like we haven't achieved enough or prepared enough is only because we don't have God's hands on it. And once we understand that God's hand is on it, and we follow exactly what we're supposed to be doing in God's name and the way He wants us to do it, is when it's going to be achieved. It's exactly when it will be achieved. So we're going to first and foremost get right into prayer first. I've written out a prayer here for us. We're going to get into prayer, and then we're going to just dive right into the topic. I have 3 major points I want us to review today. It's going to be short and sweet, but it's going to be straight to the point, just how I want this year to be for us. What I want this year for us to be on is literally, we are going to set out to achieve these goals, to achieve the goals that God has placed on us with minimal distractions. We have to feel like we're going into this laser focused. So today's prayer, I want us to be able to, if we're able to, bow our heads, close our eyes, feel as grounded as possible. If we're driving, please try to get rid of any distractions that's on our mind, and just keep our focus on God for this moment here. So as we bow our head, God, I pray, as we come together within this circle, that we feel moved. Moved not only by the language and the tone of our voices, but by your spirit and by your powerful ability. God, I pray that we come to an understanding that we were not put to have fulfilled only our dreams and our desires, but we are here to fulfill the purpose and the movement you placed within us. We give our hearts, mind, and spirit to you, and for you to use solely for your way and your way only. Amen. All right, ladies. So let's actually start with just talking about possibly how are we feeling about this new year? How are we feeling walking in tomorrow, the new year? Like, what has this past week taught us, or like has revealed to us or shown us? If there's anything that's come up for us recently, specifically.
It's weird, but I wait until the new year starts
Yeah.
to see how it goes. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, I don't know if it's negative or pessimistic or optimistic thinking, but it's like the year starts off good.
Mm-hmm.
I expect a good year.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
starts off bad. I'm like, oh, this is how we're starting.
Mm-hmm.
Still keeping the mindset that we're gonna change it.
Yeah.
But I would love for it to be, for the year to start off good, and
Mm-hmm.
then it kind of gives me the energy to, if something does happen that's not as positive, to
Mm-hmm.
kind of like swing it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I don't know what to expect, but that's what my hope is that it's a good year.
Yeah.
Every year's a good year.
Mm-hmm.
That we're alive. You know what I mean?
Right.
I have health.
Yeah, exactly.
Because it's hard. Some people don't have that at all. So
Mm-hmm.
I guess that's where I'm at. Grateful for whatever blessings are there all the time.
Yeah, and I mean, it is so true that sometimes we walk into a year and we can recap on a year and we'll be like, oh, this year was really a trial year, like this year was full of lessons, and sometimes God gives us those years. Last year was that year for me. It was like not this past year, but the year before was that year for me. It was a lot of trials and tribulations for me. Like, I learned so much about myself through that year. I made major leaps. And it was a crazy year, but at the end of the year, I was just so grateful of those lessons. So the way you feel is just you're walking in, you're like, I don't know what God has prepared for me, but I guess I'm gonna have to be ready anyways, because I have no choice, right? Like, we're walking in, we don't know. But that's true. I mean, yeah, I'm walking into this year like fully aware that there's I like the feeling specifically for me that I've been like attracting is like, I know that there's so much that I need to be getting done. Like, there's a laundry list, like long laundry list of things that I have to tap into that I have not tapped into. And I'm grateful for this past year. There's been a lot of blessings, thank God. But this year I have to gear it in a completely different direction. I don't know what exactly that means. I don't know what the outcome is specifically going to look like, but I know that my energy has to completely change. My shift has to happen. The shift has to happen, and I have to be open to that. Mommy, how are you feeling walking into the new year? You're shaking your head. I'm gonna stop my camera for a second. Hold on. Keep going though, Mommy. You go.
Well, since I've been back home, I've gotten a boost of energy. I want to hold myself accountable. I feel like these past 6 months, I've just been all over the place. So I'm excited to finally, hold myself accountable for the things that I do talk about, the things that I do think about on a day-to-day basis, and the things that I do want to change. I've also learned this weekend that I don't want to say that I'm losing, like, I guess I'm kind of like off balance with my unconditional love. In some sense, I feel like I've been very like judgmental, or like I just feel like I want to like distance myself and like curl up in a ball when things aren't like the way it's supposed to be in my eyes. So I don't know. I guess I'm ready for the new year, and I'm ready to tap back into the part that makes me, like being that friend to everybody, or being that person, or being that Jamadi to everybody. I'm pretty excited about that. So I have good energy
Yeah.
today, and I'm ready.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing. You're feeling openness right now to all of the new blessings, all of the new exciting things that you're going to be achieving for this new year. And that's huge,
Yes.
you know. Usually God does that at the right moment, right? Like we get this feeling at the right exact moment. And that happened to me this week too. You know, I really got that feeling where it was like, okay, like, you know, there's just through the chaos, and I think we can say that, Jamadi, as friends, like we've gone through so much chaos in this year, which is not bad. It's not a bad thing. It's been good. But now now through the chaos, let's refocus, right? Let's chime in. Let's obtain the energy, attain the openness to what has to get done. What is the bigger picture, right? We can spend years and years talking about what is it that we want to do as a community, but it is important as a community that we act on it as well. So that's really, I'm so extremely excited for that. And that is what was coming for me as well this week. It was like, okay, like, you know, I had a freaking call with my brother-in-law, Adrian, and he was like, your mom is still waiting for you to take care of her. And that was like, obviously, like, in that sense, she's really not just waiting around for me to take care of her. But hearing that was one of the most motivating things, because I'm like, he's so right, you know, because there's people, you know, there's people that right now are in our lives that need us. And then there's also people that we may not even meet that is part of our lineage that are going to need us. So it is very important that we are very intentional with everything that we do right now in this time, and that we take it that serious. Every move that we make, every conversation that we have, every next step that we enter, every room that we enter in is intentional. And yeah, that's it. So the first point that I have written here for this message is that we have to move with clarity, right? Like, the first thing we have to do is get in alignment. And in order to get in alignment is to clear ourselves from distractions. So from the sermon's notes, it was move with clarity, manage your time. Everything around you is built with a purpose. So we have to understand, and while we're looking around, is what is the purpose of this being in front of us, right? The friends that we keep, the environments that we decide to walk in. All of this is made with intention. There's a purpose. Is this purpose in alignment of what I want to achieve, or is this purpose not in alignment of what I want to achieve? Let me get to my notes here. One moment. Sorry about this, guys. I want to make sure I have it here, right here. Okay. So yes, if you guys are taking notes, I would write the first thing down is we're going to be moving clearly. So in God's godly purpose, we have to move with clarity. Manage our time intentionally. Minimize the distractions that pull us away from our alignment. And create spaces to hear God clearly. I love that last part, because I truly can say that I've felt victim to not allowing space for God to speak to me clearly. These past few months, I've been chugging away. I've been doing what I feel like I've been needing to do, but I have not opened up the space for God to speak to me. And we know exactly what we need to do in order to get there, We know that it might just take us getting on our knees and praying, or just providing an environment for God to speak to us with no distractions. And as easy as that may sound, just getting on our knees, like I've talked about this before, guys, like getting on our knees is such a representation of giving honor to God, giving honor to the higher power, for him to be able to see that, listen, I am surrendering to you. So we need to find moments to surrender to God and take it just as seriously as we take everything else. I take the gym extremely seriously. I wake up and I make sure I go to the gym every day, because I get this like overwhelming feeling where I need to move my body in a certain way for me to be able to sit down, and even to be able to sit down and enjoy a meal properly, because I have to exert that energy. And the way that I feel about the gym and moving my body, I have to feel that way about God. So that is one thing I'm holding myself accountable to for this year, is giving myself the space to hear God's voice clearly. Not just hear his voice, but hear it clearly, right? Because I mentioned before, I'll pray to God in my head, and I'll do an internal prayer, which is beautiful, right? We do that. We can do that. But how is that giving time for God to respond to us? If we're quickly just saying a short prayer, and sometimes we find ourselves saying it in times in need, right? God, I pray that I get this. God, I pray that you do this. But what about giving God the time to tell us what he needs from us? We have to leave space for that.
It's crazy how you're bringing this topic up, because on Saturday, I was on Netflix, and lately Netflix and like Christian or anything that has to do with God, like any religion, it has been going down.
Your algorithm.
So I found a movie called War Room. You guys didn't even watch it.
That sounds so good.
You know, it was an older lady. And
how on brand is that? How on brand that we're talking about a prayer closet, and my girl is on the chat.
Eating my food. Eating her food.
Okay, let's talk about giving my sis her own space. Okay, she's in her own little energy right now. I love that.
No, I have to. Like, when I'm frustrated, like when I have anxiety, like when I need to journal, or when I like really need to pray and I find myself like pacing through the house, like I do come in here and I do whatever I need to do, even if I'm sitting here staring into space. Like,
yeah,
it is something about a closet.
Yeah. Wow. You know, I can't. I did. I used to use my closet for that at my house when I shared it with Epsia. So I guess it happens more when you're sharing your space, right?
Right.
The closet, when you live by yourself, I think any point of the house can be a prayer closet, but when you share in that space, it's a little different.
Because when I had my apartment, I did not go in my closet.
Yes. I'm like, when was the last time I went to? Oh, it was when I had FC in the house. Okay. It was then. Okay. But yeah, no, that's so true. Like it could be any space, right? Like we can create any space for God. God doesn't require anything for us to listen to him. It's really just us. He just requires us, a listening ear. So bullet point 2 is going to be allow purpose to stretch you. We've talked about this many times too, but I want to really talk about it right now. And as we're talking about getting focused on our goals for 2026, as we move with clarity and when we hear God's word and his message and what he wants to do through us, we have to remember that when God speaks to us, he's going to stretch us. And it's going to be a wide stretch most of the time, okay? It's never a comfortable stretch. And we have to be ready for that. So when we move in God's purpose, it will feel uncomfortable. So be ready to be uncomfortable. It's going to stretch us. it's gonna require a whole lot of faith. Okay, we're not gonna feel super familiar with what God is saying to us. It's going to feel like sometimes we are a completely different person while making these moves, when we're acting on his word and acting on his purpose. We have to be comfortable, and I've said this before, we have to be comfortable with being uncomfortable. So the feeling of me putting up this camera right now for YouTube and me sending out, I'm saying this now because it was two things I just did that made me feel uncomfortable for some reason. I don't quite know why, and I dislike that, but it's okay. Me propping up this phone to film for YouTube makes me feel uncomfortable. I feel lazy when I feel like I have this like lazy, that's another thing that pastor actually mentioned. He was like, I pray over the curse that you have of laziness. Because laziness is a curse, and we have to understand that. When we feel the feeling of laziness, we have to remember that is just something that resonates with the other side of things. I don't like mentioning the devil because I don't like mentioning it when I don't want him even in the room. I don't want that energy in the room. But it's the other side. So we have to understand that that is just a feeling that we can also debunk. So the feeling of me propping up my phone for YouTube is an uncomfortable feeling. For some reason, when I send out a message on my Instagram chat for Elevate Her Space, I get really nervous and uncomfortable, and I that's why I don't do it often. But I decided to put it in the chat today because the feeling that I get is like, okay, everyone is able to read this message. So that means everyone on my Instagram can read this message. That means anyone that I'm sending this link to can chime into this chat. I'm nervous about that. I'm nervous about just allowing anyone in this space. But of course, I heard God because I've gotten into the position today to listen to God. And he told me, do it. What are you scared of? Just do it. Like, what's the worst that's gonna happen? There's gonna be 5 more girls on this chat that you have to hold yourself accountable to use my word to give this message. Are you scared of the responsibility? Yes, I'm scared of the responsibility. I don't think I'm quite ready for this responsibility, but I have to do it because now I've positioned myself to listen to God, and now there's so much more that I have to do, right? So it's really that, right? Being okay with the discomfort, allowing God to stretch us, and understanding that it's going to take faith, a good deal of faith, and a good deal of new habits. So allow our habits to replicate what God is set out for us to do, right? So the purpose and the habits have to match. When we're watching our habits, when we're watching ourselves, we have to ask ourselves, are these the habits that align with the purpose that God has set out for us? Oh, that's going to be huge. That's going to change us completely because we're going to be asking ourselves all the time, wait, we're also going to notice, oh my God, wait, I am giving myself away in this area that's allowing God, like this is not a space God will be able to speak to me through. So I have to change that. I have to change my conversations. I have to change my environments. I might have to give up I will have to give up certain things. Things that have a huge hold on us right now, we're gonna have to give up. So we have to be okay with that. We have to walk in. Fierce is another word the pastor used this past Sunday, and that's the word I want to use today. We have to fiercely walk into 2026. If we don't walk, we cannot walk in timid, right? Like if we walk in timid, like we're small, how do we expect to do big things? We have to walk in owning the room. As uncomfortable as it's gonna feel, we have to walk in like we're what we're going to achieve, big things. We have to walk in big. That's another thing. It's very disrespectful to God when we play small. Remember that. It's very, very disrespectful to God when we play small. So even the words that we're using to ourselves, we have to watch. The words that we're using when we're speaking about other people, when we're speaking about the environments that we're in, the environments we're going to approach, we cannot speak small, y'all. We cannot. And then number 3, to end the bullets here, the bullet points. Remember when we are moving with clarity and then allowing God to stretch us, the vision and the purpose he's put into us solely is not for us. It's not just for us. We are just his vessel. So God is going to be using us to move through us. So I think the reminder that the one thing that we can remember that will help us is that when we are approaching those uncomfortable moments, it's like, okay, I'm uncomfortable. Like my soul human like tendency is super uncomfortable right now, but I have to move through this uncomfortable feeling, because what I'm supposed to be achieving is not for me. It's outside of me. I can't selfishly say, because I'm uncomfortable, I'm gonna not do it. Because when I move through uncomfortableness, I'm gonna be able to achieve things for not only me, but for my future self, for my future children, for the people that are depending on me. You know, like I said, when Adrian mentioned, I still have a mother that's waiting for me to support her. That spoke volumes, because I've allowed some of my human-like tendencies get in the way of my goals, the goals that I need to achieve. And if I remember that, hey, this goal that you have, this purpose that I put through you is not only for you, it's for your children, and it's for your children's children, and it's for your mother, and it's for those people that are depending on you right now. So we have to, that's what we have to also remember, right? It's not only for us. And I think that soul thing alone is what's going to get us to achieve these goals. It's going to give us the confidence. It's going to give us the unshakableness feeling that we need to feel going into it. All those things, that's what it's going to give us in order for us to move on and to keep going. When we move with purpose, we become vessels, not just not just being receivers. We become vessels. And that's huge, right? Because when we think of a vessel, it's something that flows through. It doesn't stop with us. It shouldn't stop with us. It can't stop with us. And that's all I had, ladies, for this week. Those are the 3 major points that I had. So to remind you, ladies, we're going to be moving clearly within God's purpose. It requires clarity. So make sure we're clearing our environment, clearing our minds, clearing our energy in order to hear God. And then allowing God to move us, to stretch us, allow our habits to move us. So allow our habits to match our purpose and what God has in store for us. Allow those 2 things to match. Ask ourselves midday, okay, what am I doing? Is this something that's going to move me, or is it decreasing the capacity of what I'm supposed to achieve? And then 3rd, remember, it's not just for us. So the way we're moving is not just solely for us. It's not selfishly for us. It's for everyone that comes after us and everyone that's come before us. So some things I want you guys to think about before we end this meeting is what would moving clearly look like for you in this next season? So envision what it's going to look like, what 2026 is going to look like for you. Please write it down. Write this. If we haven't had our own self like 2026 meeting, have that meeting with yourself as to what your vision and your goal looks like for next year. Even if we don't have an exact goal or vision, allow God to let one of the goals be where God can speak to you, so he can give you that message, right? So what would moving clearly look like for you in this next season? What new habits might God be asking me to build in this next season? So what habits is it going to take for you to be able to move clearly? And if I trusted God fully, what would I move toward with more courage? So what would it look like what does my life look like when I trust God fully? With no doubts. Outside of our human tendency, when we have to take away those human-like doubts and only think in human-like terms and just think in God terms. If we only thought in God terms, what would our life look like? So those are our 3 takeaways for today. I hope that you ladies enjoy tomorrow the best way that you can. I still am so like confused as to what I want to do tomorrow. I have different options and I'm still trying to see like what is the best option, because I want to really truly bring in this new year the right way. And I do encourage you ladies to also do the same, to be very intentional on how you bring in the new year.
Well, I'll be on an overnight with Jazz. I'm sneaking her into work.
Oh, that is so cute. You're like, I'm going to make my money, but I'm also going to have my best girl with me. Walking
No,
into
seriously.
the 2 things that matter the most coming into this year. You're bringing it, the money and the child, okay?
Yeah.
I love that.
Hopefully she sleeps, because I will be sobbing.
Oh my God, that's so cute. Hopefully she's not sleeping and she could just watch you.
She gonna look at me like I'm crazy. Like, girl, get it together. Like, sis, I am, okay?
She's like, Mom, this ain't nothing new, okay?